everyone, it's Sheila back again with another tutorial. This time I'm going to show how to do this, the loopy stitch. And this is a stitch I used to have little boys, so I never did this for mine. But I had a lot of friends who had little girls and I used to do this hat for them. And I have an old pattern I'm going to show you. Now you can see this is a very old pattern because it says 8p with a D above there. And I remember it was an old lady gave me this pattern years ago. So my oldest son is 53. No, he's not. He's 52 this year. He was born in 1969. So I don't know how old this pattern actually is, but it was an old lady gave it to me when I was pregnant, because in those days we never knew what sex our children was going to be. And I knitted one of each. I knitted a little helmet and a little bonnet, and gave the bonnet away after he was born because he was a little boy. And anyway, this was the pattern that I used to use, but I didn't always do the loopy. I didn't always do it with the loops all over. Sometimes I used to do it with just a little border of the loops down here, and maybe a little bit on the back, a couple of little rows on the back before you started the shaping for the back of it. That's how I used to do this pattern. So now I'm going to show you how to do these loops. And I've started off with, you knit a few rows. The actual pattern is what they do. They've knitted and folded it over, but I never used to do that. I either used to do a little bit rib or a little bit garter stitch, like what I've done here. I think it was 2, 4, 5. I think it would have been 5 rows of garter stitch, because you actually do this on the back side of the knitting. So to do this, you knit the first stitch. Doesn't matter whether you have an odd number or an even number. And the traditional way is you put the right hand needle into the loop on the left hand needle. Then you take the yarn, it goes over the needle, over your finger, over the needle again, and then you pull those 2 loops through and off. And then you take those 2 loops and put it onto the left hand needle, and then knit into the back of those stitches, and take it off and tighten the loop before you take your finger out. So the needle goes into the loop, the yarn goes over the needle, over your finger, over the needle again, pull both stitches through, take it off the needle, put it onto the other needle, and knit into the back of the stitch, keeping your finger in the loop until you've actually finished knitting it. Knit into the back of those 2 stitches, take them off the needle, tighten the loop and take your finger out. So it's in the loop, over the needle, over your finger, your right, well it's your left, with me it's my left index finger, over the needle again, pull 2 stitches through, take them off, put those 2 stitches onto the other needle and knit into the back of them. And then tighten the stitch, take your finger out. And this stitch isn't just done for little hats. You can also do little cardigans, little jackets with the loopy stitch. This is quite slow going when you first start, but after I'd done this a few times, I got into quite a fast rhythm with it. And the last one. So you can see the ridge across there where you've done the stitches and put them back on and knitted the two stitches together. And there you are, that's another row of loops. And now I'm going to knit across this row, and I'm going to show you a slightly easier way of doing it. That way that I've just done is the traditional way, the way the pattern tells you to do it, but I found a better way and I'm going to show you it. It's very similar with just a slight difference. I'm going to knit the first stitch, and then exactly the same as before, you put the yarn around the needle, around your finger, around the needle again, pull it through. But instead of going into the back of those two stitches, just take your finger out the loop and leave those two stitches on the needle. So each time you do the loop, you'll have two stitches on the needle where there was one stitch before. And I found this way quite a lot easier. Get some wool out. And I'll pause that till I get to the end. And I'm on to the last stitch here too. And then knit that last stitch. And then when you come to do the other row on the other side, instead of having a single stitch here, because you've knitted these two stitches together on the other side, you just knit across that row and knit into the back of those two stitches. And you do that all the way across the row. And then this stitch here, after you've done that, you have to pull these stitches tight. As you can see, they're a lot shorter because you haven't pulled them when you were knitting the two stitches together on the other row that where you were making the loops. I used to just get a hold of a few of them all together like that and just pull them all down. Oops. But you have to do that to tighten them or else the loops will be shorter. And that's how you do the loopy stitch. And you'll also notice when you do it that way, this big ridge here, the larger ridge, that was where you knitted the two stitches together on the seam row. But when you do it the way I've just shown it there, it's less, which I've done it further down here as well. And this one here and that one there, so it makes a difference to how big the ridge is. And you're thinking when that's on a child's head, that ridge is going to be sticking into that child's head. You want it a bit more flat. And that's my loopy stitch. It's very easy. It looks very complicated, but once you start knitting it, you do get into a rhythm and you can knit it faster than... it's quite a number of years since I've done it, so I was a bit slow showing you. So, if you like that video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll show you something else when I think of next time.